So recently, my girlfriend's family and I went out to go see that new Tom Hardy and Austin Butler movie, The Bikeriders. And I plan on talking about that movie, but the movie itself isn't what made me want to make this video. Don't get me wrong, it's a good movie, but it just isn't for everyone. So if this video isn't a full review or a call to go see it, then what is it? Well, apart from a lot of really great character moments in the movie, the best part of going out to see this movie was the going out part. I remember being a kid and going to the movies was a big deal. It was something I looked forward to during the school day. I was a super active child, always running around and impossible to get to sit still until I was in a theater. It really was a different experience to me. And it wasn't just because of the movie. It was because of the surround sound, the seats, and most importantly, the people. When you went to the movies, you were spending the next few hours of your life experiencing a variety of emotions with a series of random people, gasping together, laughing together, and crying together. It truly isn't like anything else. The peak of this feeling to me was obviously with Avengers Endgame. I know Marvel is a load of crap right now, but if you were into it back then you know how electric this was, especially on opening night. Thursday at 10:30 p.m. The day Endgame dropped was simply something else. I have a whole story for that night, but that's for another time. For now, we'll just talk about the people. From the second I sat down, I could feel the anticipation from the crowd. Everyone was restless. I don't even remember the trailers because everyone was theorizing and talking amongst themselves, myself included. But that changed the minute the movie started. Keep in mind, this was the earliest possible showing in my area. The only people here were super fans. For the next 3 hours, we were all together, not just feeling the same things, but exploding with excitement and confusion and heartbreak, especially that last hour. Endgame isn't a perfect movie by any means, but there will never be a theater experience quite like that. And this brings me to the Bikeriders. Was my theater like Endgame? Not even close. However, it did emulate that childhood experience I described before Avengers. Everyone laughed together, gasped together, and cringed together. More on that later. Which is something I hadn't really felt since the pandemic. I don't really want to talk about that basically at all, but I bring it up just to showcase the point at which things changed. Or at least the moment where I felt like the theater stopped being an event to me. Initially, the theaters were just empty because, well, obviously. And then as people started to come back, things were different. More and more people started to ruin that experience. I don't know if it was like this for everyone, but at least in my area, it was very bad. The first I can think of was Spider-Man No Way Home. I saw it opening night, and it was a good time. Not Avengers Endgame, but very good. A couple nights later, still opening weekend, we saw it again with my mom. And this time we had like 5 teens screaming and making fart noises throughout the movie. And I was a teen once. I understand the urge to try and be funny, but I feel like doing it in a packed theater opening night is just wrong. So many people probably didn't have a fun night just because a few kids tried to be funny. And it isn't just that movie. I feel like it's been 50-50 on whether or not my theater is going to be bad. And the times it's not bad, it's silent. It's like everyone in my area has experienced so many bad theater experiences that they're nervous to make any noise during the movie. And can I blame them? Nearly every FNAF showing had someone screaming something, and I know that's not the best example, but don't worry, I'll have another. Godzilla Minus One, one of my new favorite movies of all time. Some kid kept making fart noises and laughing obnoxiously during the sad moments. Why is it always fart noises? All this to say that I was happily relieved with my theater for the Bikeriders. It was the first time in a while that I sat back to watch a good movie and just enjoyed it without worrying about my theater. Granted, there was a chance it was because of the type of movie, but it doesn't change that it was a great time. Jeez, 9 pages into my script and I'm just now getting to the actual movie. The Bikeriders is a low-budget, semi-indie movie written and directed by Jeff Nichols. The story follows a club of bikers slowly turning into a biker gang over the course of a decade. It is told through this incredibly creative pseudo-documentary style that really created immersion into the world. It is based on a true story, so it really isn't that hard to get immersed into a story like this, but the way the story was told really made it feel like you were just watching the main character, Kathy, get interviewed. I don't think I've ever seen a movie tell its story in this way, and I loved it a lot. Now, I'm going to spoil something, so skip until the words that I'm saying don't sound like a spoiler. The only complaint I had was kind of at the end. My girlfriend and I are contentious on this point, and I think a rewatch is all that is needed. But I'm a little confused as to the location of the interview sections at the beginning. The end of the movie leads the audience to believe that she was being interviewed in Florida the whole time. But the moment at the middle of the movie makes it seem like she's still in Chicago. I think both her and Danny are in the same clothes in both sections, and Danny's facial hair is the same. I was under the impression the entire movie that the interview was just present day, and the story she was telling was the only thing that was jumping in time. It's not a big deal, it was just something that I had a small problem with. The only other problem I had was with Tom Hardy's voice. His acting is good. He seems like a small guy with a lot of pent-up anger, which seems to be what the real guy was. However, his voice just didn't fit. It was his Venom voice, and even though it's not terrible, it's not very deep and not very menacing. Which is fine for Sony's version of Venom, but it just doesn't really work with a tough biker guy. Other than that, I didn't have a problem with the movie. It definitely was slower than some of the trailers led it to believe, but I didn't think it was a bad thing. It was a wonderful character-driven story with amazing cinematography. Like, beautiful cinematography. Cinematography that made me want to start smoking cigs. Again, they did a great job of introducing every character and actually making you feel for them. In team-style movies, it can be hard to make each person feel different and introduce them in a smooth way. James Gunn is amazing at doing this. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and Suicide Squad are great examples. The Bikeriders does their introductions in a very simple way, but hey, Occam's razor. Sometimes the most simple solution is the right solution. Because it's an interview style, they just list off the characters and then show a small clip of their personality. Simple, but it really works in the movie. I really like the mechanic, Cal. I thought it was really funny that in nearly every scene with him, he is just yapping like crazy. He was tall, talked a lot, and was insanely into his hobby. I related to him a lot. Zipco, played by Michael Shannon, was another highlight. He really is a fantastic actor, really sold the character's story.
I will find him!
And speaking of the story, that obviously was the best part of the movie. The transition from club to gang was seamless and really masterfully written. I do everything to go into movies as blind as possible so that I can try and predict what's going to happen before it actually does. And with this movie, I didn't really realize where it was going until it was basically there. It was written beautifully and really treats the audience like adults. That point is another reason why I think the audience was better than usual. Writing is a point in filmmaking that is recently getting a lot of spotlight, and thank God, because it is up there with cinematography as being one of the most important aspects of filmmaking, at least in my opinion. The great writing in this movie really helped everyone get immersed into the story. We laughed when characters told jokes, not because they were the best jokes ever told, but because the writers convinced us to enjoy these people. This is why I wanted to talk about the theater experience with this movie. I hope I have more theaters like this. Maybe I just need to see more adult movies, because every example I gave was for something teen, kid adjacent. I've never been one to enjoy splitting movies into age ranges. I mean, obviously we need a rating system, but we should never discredit a movie just because the main demographic is for kids. I'm getting off topic here, so I guess I'll just end the video. To leave it on a good note, I'll talk about my favorite audience moment from this movie. So the movie starts with Austin Butler's character in a fight, and it's honestly a fantastic title card. But you also get to see the conclusion of the fight later in the movie. During the fight, someone breaks their leg and they show it, and everyone in the theater collectively cringed, and boy, that was a fantastic experience. Not watching it, but hearing everyone groan, it was really fantastic. I hope you enjoyed this nonsensical rant. Alright, bye. Please subscribe.